Hello everyone and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new soundtrack album for Joker Folie Adieu, which is interesting for a number of reasons. Because first of all, this is a soundtrack album mostly sung by Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, with one exception there by Nick Cave. I got an entire discography overview by Nick Cave the last month on this channel, so that's a nice addition to this record. Also, um, the film Joker Folie Adieu, you cannot talk about the record without talking about the film. And I last night I also went to the film itself, so I'm gonna incorporate my opinion about that and the way the songs work in there and the way the songs work on this album. There's another thing that makes this more interesting for me. It's because precisely a week ago, Lady Gaga released an album with a lot of the songs that are also featured in this film, and she has stated that she had to release it because she could not let go of her character. But looking at the film and listening to this album, I think something else is going on, and I'll get into that later on in this video. First of all, what does this soundtrack album represent? It are 16 of the songs featured in the film. And if you take a listen to the quality of the songs, the sound of it, the way it's mixed, the way sometimes surroundings are incorporated, this is absolutely a souvenir for the film. As in, it tries to capture the emotion of the main character of the song more than it's trying to get you into the swing, because a lot of these songs are all-time jazz standards or show tunes, and then you think you'd have to be into a certain rhythm to get along to it. But this soundtrack album wants you to think of the film. That's really my interpretation, the way I'm experiencing it. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing that you have to think about the film? Because soundtrack and film in this case, the soundtrack for me doesn't fully work on itself, but I'm going to go into detail about that later on. First question for me is, listening to the soundtrack apart from the film, what do these songs do in the film? And that is a question I find hard to answer. I love the first Joker film. Now, they announced the new Joker film would be a musical. I love musicals. So I thought that is a daring choice. It's a very daring choice because the first film is so rough. It's a character study. It reminds me more of Taxi Driver than of a regular superhero or villain film. I love that. Now, the new film still has that tone. But in the old film, the main character, played by Joaquin Phoenix, has this fantasy-like world in which he is a great performer, a comedy performer. That element of a fantasy world in which he is a good performer in this film becomes much more of a musical performance. Singing and dancing is very important in life in prison for him, because there's this sing and dance class in a prison. The guards, they expect the main character, the Joker, to be funny, or they have this interaction with singing songs from time to time. But there's also this imagination world. I'm not going to spoil, but in which he and the Lady Gaga character, Harley Quinn, perform together. There's this stage quality to it. Now, we are listening to the songs in, most of the time it's this imagination world. There's also some songs that are performed in the real world, but most of the time it's the imagination world. And though musical is a very interesting genre in this way to use, it does not change the tone of the film or the identity of the character. It really fits in the world they created, which is an incredible accomplishment. But the problem with this film is, narratively, there's not a lot going on. The first film was a character study, but it kept building in the way we're looking at this character. This film does not have that development with Joker. Sort of a development, but not as strong as in the first film. And the Lady Gaga character, Harley Quinn, remains remarkably shallow. Now, that's got nothing to do with the acting, because Lady Gaga does a good job, Joaquin Phoenix does an incredible job. The narrative, the writing is just not as strong. What does it say about the songs? Well, the songs are there to emphasize or visualize the relationship between the two of them in 50 or 60% of the cases, perhaps 70% of the cases. But in these songs, not a lot is going on between them. Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, as vocal performers, do not share a chemistry. Lady Gaga is a fully trained vocalist, and Joaquin Phoenix, he does sing his heart out, and I find him convincing, but I find him convincing emotionally, because the way he sings represents the character very well, but he cannot carry a tune. He cannot carry a song like the song The Joker. It's the way it's in the film or the way it's on the soundtrack. I mean, he's no Frank Sinatra. He's far from it. His character remains, it's true to the character, but it's not a song in which you get hooked. When they are doing duets, like a song like To Love Somebody, in the film they are on a stage, in a television stage, and you notice there's a big difference vocal, technically wise, but also visually and audibly. There is no chemistry. There's nothing in this world that makes this relationship build or get more interesting. The two of them, it's very tough to see a believable or lovable or even, yeah, believable or lovable relationship. Might be interesting as a character study, but it's hard to get fully involved, and these songs are there to get emotionally involved. And they just do not work that way in the film. As a matter of fact, the songs in the film pretty often, not always, but pretty often, make an already slow moving story go even slower, because there is so little development and there is so little emotional coloring here. Now, watching the film and knowing that I would listen to the soundtrack today, I thought, oh, that's going to be a very bad listen for the soundtrack, because the songs aren't working in the film. I don't think they're going to be working on the soundtrack. And I was not fully right to assume that, because listening to the soundtrack, there are songs like the ones I just mentioned, To Love Somebody or The Joker, that do not work on a standalone album. There are songs, however, that do work on the standalone album, and which make you even fantasize a bit about the film. For me, the highlights are, and that's very bizarre because I've got two highlights, which are, as a matter of fact, not Lady Gaga songs. Um, those are If You Go Away, which is actually an English translation of the Jacques Brel song Ne Me Quitte Pas, which Joaquin Phoenix, beautiful, very small performance. I'm not going to tell the context because I'm not going to spoil, but it's heartbreaking. And then the final song, True Love Will Find You in the End, which is not a jazz classic or standard at all. It's actually a Daniel Johnston song, which has a very rough edge. And that rough edge is also done beautifully by Joaquin Phoenix. I didn't hear in the film. I think it must have been over the end credits, because I left during the end credits. I never finished the end credits. Gorgeous, gorgeous moments. So this soundtrack does have beautiful moments. Now, I promised you an answer to the question, why is it interesting with regards to the Lady Gaga album we got a week ago, Harley Quinn. My guess is she's unhappy with this soundtrack album because it reflects the atmosphere of the film, which doesn't make you want to dance, doesn't make you want to swing. There's an element of a cynical tone to it. Not a lot of it fully works as a standalone album. So I think loving those songs, owning them, and wanting the audience to have a swing and to understand that she is up to it, she released her own version of it. I think that album, also the idea that she released it a week before this album, is her way of whispering to the fans, oh, I can do this, I can do this. So, but that is just my guess. But I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.